For every swing, every moment, the Milwaukee Brewers fight. It's not just about hitting the ball, it's about leaving a legacy.
Do you guys have any idea what an ERA of 8.53 in AAA actually means? I'm asking this because it feels like the Brewers analytics department is seeing something the rest of the baseball world is completely ignoring, or worse, they're getting so arrogant with this whole pitching lab narrative that they think they can fix anything that breathes and has a right arm. And that is exactly what we need to talk about today, because the signing of Gerson Garabito, which happened under the radar on Christmas Day, is the perfect example of this insane and fascinating mentality that has taken over Milwaukee. We are talking about a 30-year-old pitcher who has bounced around, got chewed up by hitters in the big leagues wearing a Rangers jersey, and yet our front office looked at him and said, that's the guy we want. It's not a signing that's going to make you jump out of your chair or buy a new jersey, I know that, but stop and think about the audacity of this, because Garabito is coming off a season where he was absolutely destroyed in Round Rock, with a record of 0 wins and 7 losses in 10 starts, giving up runs like he was handing out gifts. And yet here we are, discussing how he might be the key piece to cover valuable innings in August. It's the classic low-risk, high-reward bet that defines the modern Brewers era, where we take cast-offs from other organizations and try to turn them into gold, but this time the challenge is monumental because his peripheral numbers are terrifying, with an opponent batting average of 28.4% in the MLB, which basically means almost 1 in every 3 hitters he faces gets on base or makes solid contact. I look at this and wonder if we aren't stretching the rope too tight, if we aren't trusting too much that our pitching coaches are magicians who can simply snap their fingers and stop the ball from traveling into the bleachers. But the naked truth is that Milwaukee lives and dies by these marginal transactions that nobody notices in December, but that define the depth of the roster when the inevitable injuries start popping up in June. The question that keeps hammering in my head is, what the hell did they see in him? Because if you look at his baseball savant profile, it's a sea of cold blue, indicating he's below average in almost everything, but specifically on the curveball, which is where things get interesting and technical, because his curve has a vertical drop much lower than the major league average, more than 6 inches less to be exact, which in practice means it's a ball that doesn't fool anyone. It comes out of the hand and just hangs there in the strike zone, begging to be hit hard. And it is precisely in this glaring technical flaw that hope lives. And I know it sounds contradictory, but listen to what I'm going to say now, because it's the key to everything. If this problem with the curve is just a matter of grip, of how he holds the ball or releases the pitch, then the Brewers might have found a rough diamond covered in mud. Before I continue ranting about how they plan to fix this broken mechanics, I want you guys to be part of this insane discussion we have here every day. So subscribe to the channel right now so you don't miss any details of this season that promises to be a heart-stopper. Back to the point, the theory here is that if the technical staff can get his curve to drop vertically instead of having that lazy horizontal movement he has now, his entire arsenal changes shape, because suddenly he starts having 5 viable pitches and becomes a legitimate candidate to eat innings as a long reliever, or even that emergency 5th starter we always need when there's a doubleheader or an unexpected injury in the rotation. I'm not saying he's going to turn into the next Corbin Burns, far from it, but recent history has taught us never to doubt this franchise's ability to take a discredited guy and turn him into a useful piece. And Garabito, with all his baggage of recent failures and horror statistics, is the ultimate test for this philosophy of ours. If he never steps on the mound at American Family Field, nobody will remember this signing. It will just be another footnote in minor league transactions. But if he shows up in a Tuesday night game against the Reds and throws 3 scoreless innings, it will be undeniable proof that our pitcher development system is light years ahead of the competition, because fixing a guy with an ERA of 8.5 in AAA isn't for just anyone. You need to have an almost arrogant confidence in your methods. The real problem is that we depend too much on this. We keep hoping these reclamation projects work because the front office rarely opens the wallet to bring in absolute certainties. So we are forced to analyze the spin rate of a guy nobody wanted, trying to convince ourselves it's going to work out. Maybe he needs to accept a smaller role. Maybe he has to relearn how to pitch from scratch. But the reality is that Garabito is now a Brewer. And as much as the numbers say this is going to go wrong, my battle-hardened fan intuition says we should expect the unexpected, because in baseball, and especially with this team, logic is often thrown out the window as soon as the umpire yells, "Play ball."